Hello, Melanin Monarchy citizens. This is your Queen Monique here with another review, and this time we'll be reviewing a film, and that film is the 2023 version of The Color Purple. Let's get into this review. If you're new to this channel is all about commentating on live music, films, other creatives, all with a strong emphasis on Depeche Mode. So let's get into this discussion about the 2023 version of The Color Purple. Now, for the sake of this review, I'm going to try to condense it and keep it short, but at the end of the review, I have a little something extra for you viewers that I hope that you enjoy and that you appreciate. Okay, now let's get into this review of The Color Purple. Now, The Color Purple this particular film is a musical film. This film was based off of the musical Broadway play that started in 2005. And that musical play is based off of the film, the 1985 version of the film. And that film is based off of the 1982 book by Miss Alice Walker, okay? So here is a film. We have a version of the 2023 with a star-studded cast. And I'm just going to go through the short list just very quick. There was Fantasia Barrino, who stars as adult Celie. You have Taraji P. Henson, who plays Shug Avery. Danielle Brooks, who plays Sophia. Then you have Coleman Domingo, who plays Mr. You have Halle Bailey, who plays young Nettie. You have Felicia Pearl Empathy, who plays young Celie. And then you also have Corey Hawkins, who plays Harpo. And he did an absolutely magnificent job. I just absolutely loved him. If you're unfamiliar with the story in A Color Purple, this story is about a young, neglected, and abused Black female growing up in the turn of the century Atlanta, Georgia, in that Georgia area. Now, Celie, she's our protagonist here. She's our hero here. And she's been impregnated as a young girl twice by her father, who promptly sells her children, her babies, right from under her. And then he proceeds to marry her off to a grown man while she's still a relatively young, a young teenager. He marries her off to a man who proceeds to abuse her physically and mentally for the next 30 years. Now, Celie has a younger sister, her younger sister, Nettie. And Nettie is everything that Celie is not. Nettie is educated, she's confident, she's prettier. But the best quality about Nettie is that she has a pure and unwavering love for her sister, Celie. Now, Celie goes through her marriage. We see her in her marriage. And like I said before, it's an abusive marriage. But the most egregious thing that her husband, Mr., has done, he has successfully, viciously separated Celie from her sister, Nettie. He not only separates them, but he's able to orchestrate and obstruct any type of communication between Nettie and her sister, Celie. So we follow Celie as she's navigating this abusive marital prison that she's in. And she ends up forming a relationship with Mr.'s flamboyant club singing mistress. And Celie also forms a relationship with her daughter-in-law, gregarious, strong-willed Sophia. I can tell you, I don't want to ruin the whole story and give you all the ins and outs of the story, but I can tell you that it definitely does have a happy ending. I know the beginnings doesn't sound very happy, but it's definitely a happy ending, and this story is definitely worth being told. I remember as a young person going to see this with my mother, and my mother took my grandmother to go see this film. So The Color Purple story, especially in the Black community, is one that we hold to ourselves. So it is definitely worth it. The breakout star in this film, I would say, is Felicia Pearl Empathy. She did an amazing job as an unknown, and I think this channel thinks that it's worth recognizing her for her performance and also for her singing qualities. Now, I want to do just a slight little parallel between the musical film and the musical play. So the storyline is the same. The musical film was directed by a Mr. Blitz Bawalawzi, by Zawali. Hold on. Yeah, I butcher names. So we're just going to call him Blitz. And the music was coordinated by Chris Powers. Then the screenplay was written by Marcus Gardley. And so that's the film. So you have, that's basically the people who were in charge of the musical film. Now the Broadway play, Marsha Norman wrote the Broadway play back in 2005. She wrote that. And the music was written and orchestrated by Brenda Russell. Brenda Russell, she's been around for years, and she's just an incomparable musician. Stephen Bray and Allie Wilson. Now, Stephen Bray and Allie Wilson are from Detroit, so I have to acknowledge them because, you know, as a fellow Detroiter, they're from Detroit, and they were a part of the musical on Broadway and all of its renditions, whether it was in Chicago, whether it was in the UK. They were in charge of that. So you have the musical film, then you have the musical. Now, Fantasia, she stars in this musical film, but she also did she did a cast play on stage in 2009. So she did, I think, about a year, 2009, playing Adult Celie in the play, and now she plays Adult Celie in the film. So that's very interesting for us to have. You don't get that a lot, and so it's a good thing that they were able to retain Fantasia to come along in this film endeavor. Now, before I give my opinion about the film, I wanted to go ahead and talk to other women who I know, other women of like age who are over 40 or in their late 40s and their 50s and so on, who had seen the film, and get their opinion on the film before I set my cap permanently at my opinion. And I just also want to just let you guys know that my pastor, Christine, she rebuked me so hard because she said, hey, when you ask people their opinion, you can't give them that black stank face when they give you that opinion. So you guys, I had to like do this every time I ask someone about this film and what their thoughts were on this film. So I want to thank my pastor, Christine, for that admonishment, which is what I needed. But for the most part, the women that I talked to about this film, because the Black women was basically the largest target audience for this film. It was extremely geared towards Black women. They had various opinions about that, but so I had to narrow it down. And the question that I asked them all were, would you spend money again to see this film? And you guys, all of them but one person, all of them said no. They said no. So that leads me into basically my giving you my opinion of the film. Now, again, I want to point out that the acting and singing was good, great in some areas, not so great in other areas, but hey, I can't sing, whatever. The costume design was amazing. The cinematography was good, even though there was a scene in the film that looked a lot like Daughters of the Dust, as a film that was done by Julie Dash back in 1991. So as a filmmaker, you kind of notice little things. And so I saw a little bit of Daughters in the Dust in this particular film. So the casting, you guys, hey, actors got to eat. So I have no opinion as far as the casting, although I would like to say that David Alan Grier was in this film. And when I saw David Alan Grier, I wanted to laugh. I couldn't really take it seriously because he's played so many comedic roles, and just the way he was placed in this one, it wasn't as serious as the character that he played was a very serious character. And I just didn't think that worked. Other than that David Alan Grier is amazing, and he played the piano in this, and I'm pretty sure that he actually does play the piano. And so going into when you go into this film, you know that you're going into an emotional roller coaster with this film. So that was no surprise there. There were some missing elements in the film, and I suspect that the reason why that there were some missing elements from this film and maybe from the 1985 version of the film was because you have music. So in order to make time, you only have so much time. It was already over 2 hours, so you have to make room and room for the musical, right? The music renditions that they did and the choreography and all that stuff. So there were some elements that were missing, including the big thing, God's trying to tell you something at the end of the film. We just didn't get that in this film. It was very cut, very short, and we didn't get that payoff. There was for a lot of things, there wasn't a lot of payoff at the end of this film. You just didn't get, it seemed terribly rushed. It just kind of fell flat, kind of like, you know, if you leave pop out, it gets flat. This film basically fell flat in what it was trying to achieve. Now, me talking about God's trying to tell you something, the famous song that was produced by Quincy Jones in the original 1985 version, there have been some comments that the reason why that song was left out or cut as short and concise as it was is because maybe Taraji could not pull off that song the way that song normally would have been pulled off. So when you have a film that was originally a play and you're trying to bring the play on the big screen, it takes gentle hands, right? It takes some specific like surgery to make sure that everything translates better, because when you're watching something live, that brings a different temperature and atmosphere versus you're seeing it in the theaters. And for whatever reason, this film wasn't able to pull it off. Now, when I walked into this film when I knew this film was coming out, and I was telling my daughters and I was telling everybody else, you cannot see this film until you've seen the 1985 version of the film. I stood strong on that. After seeing the film, I have changed my mind. I don't think that that's the case. I think you can see this film without seeing the 1985 version of the film. Matter of fact, I would suggest that you see this film before you see the 1985 version, because if you do it vice versa, you are going to be extremely disappointed from those versions. And this is why I don't think that it's fair to compare this musical to the 1985 version. However, it just fell flat. It didn't work. And that's unfortunate. So there you have it with my opinion. I also want to talk a little bit about budget versus box office for this film. There's been a lot of talk about this film, especially in the Black community, the U.S. Black community. This film budget was basically $100 million. Now, that I'm not exactly sure if budget and box office are accurate. We can only go off of what they tell us. First, it was $100 million. They were saying that the budget was, and they said, no, it's more like 90 to 100. They kind of flubbing the numbers. We're never going to know. It matters when you're comparing the budget versus the box office. Now, the box office as of this taping is a little bit above $60 million, which means that this movie did not make up the money of the budget. So nobody really made money off of this film. Now, a lot of people are, talking about that, and they're, they have their own opinions and saying, oh, wow, or it was this, it was that. But as a filmmaker, you guys, it is rare that films make their money back. What you guys are used to seeing is big budget films. You're looking at the Marvels, you're looking at the Star Wars, you're looking at those types of films that have a huge budget and they make up their money. And so you automatically assume that films are going to make up their money. But realistically, the majority of films don't get the money back. It's an investment that investors know that they may go in and they're not going to get their money back, that they're investing in it for other reasons, not per se to make money. Now, do the studios make money off the films? Yes, they do. they do make money off of films. But as far as filming, the filming industry as a whole, all around the world, more than likely that you're not going to make all of that money back. So when I saw that budget, I wasn't surprised, because I know that films, sometimes they don't make their money back. How many times have you actually checked a film that you like, that you actually love, to see what was the budget and then how much did that film actually make? Now, we are in February of this month, and so the movie has been out for over a month, so it may take time. We may see a strong spike in this film, or it may have another run. We're just not sure. So there is always a possibility that a film is going to make their money back. So I wanted to speak to that. Now, this film had a Christmas release date. Now, that's also not unusual. The 1985 version of the film had a Christmas release date, so it's also not unusual that this film will follow suit and have a Christmas or a late in the year release date. What that normally tells me when a film has a late in the year release date is that they're trying to make the Oscars, they're trying to make the list, they're trying to get the film in so that it is in contention for the awards, for the Oscars, for the other awards that we have here in the United States, or even across the world, the BAFTA, other awards. So that is one rationale for getting a film in at the end of the year. So a lot of people, including my daughter, believes that this film would have been better being released in February, or the film being released in spring when it's lighter, where it's warmer, where you wear the color purple, right? Where you get the color purple out there. It's a new age from 30 years ago, or 40 years ago, 1985 versus now. So maybe the film would have done better if it had been released. They looked at that when they were doing this film. They knew all the marketing. They knew all that was needed, and they should have calculated what the viewership would be like. Unfortunately, it was the wrong calculation. Also, keep in mind that there was a strike last year. There was a significant strike, and so I'm pretty sure that played a factor, maybe played a factor in the release time for this film. We don't have all the information, and we may not know the information for time to come. More information I get, then I would definitely tell you. Okay, so another factor about this film that you want to consider is that this film had 21 executive producers. That's right, you guys, it had 21 executive producers, which led one of my filmmaking pals suggest that maybe the director was not the director on this film. In her experience as a director, you can't have too many producers or executive producers and be able to direct effectively. So that could be a possibility, is that there were too many hands in the pot. Everyone was trying to get a big payday, or maybe even have their name out there and saying that they've done this film, maybe even for DEI reasonings. But they said that they wanted to done this film, and it was 21 executive producers, you guys. And in my humble opinion, as a filmmaker, that is just way too many directors. Now, the big question is, why didn't people show up for this film? Why didn't Black women show up for this film here in the States, in the UK, in Africa, in everywhere? You got Black women who are living in Mexico and South America, in different places. So why didn't Black women or people show up for this film? We certainly have the buying power. We could have tilted this film over the billions of dollars. It just did not happen. But you know, you guys, it happens all the time in this industry. So I just want to, again, to reiterate that. Why Black women didn't show up for this film, I'm not exactly sure. I don't know what occurred. They did everything they could do with the casting, different generational casting, and, well, not really different generational casting. You know, it wasn't too much of the older generation that I knew. I saw with Whoopi Goldberg, and I think that you know, that's more the generation that I kind of grew up with. But Black women didn't show up for this film. Matter of fact, when I was in the theater seeing this film, when I was in the theater seeing this film, I could say the huge demographic that was there were non-melanated women. Now, when I say non-melanated, I know all of us have melanation. I know some more than others, but when I say non-melanated, those who don't have it apparent, right? It's not apparent that they have a melanation in their skin. Okay, that made up the huge audience when I went there. And I talked to another person that I had polled from the earlier question, and they said the same thing, that maybe them and they in their role, right, the people that they went with were Black, but the majority of the audience members were not Black. So that should have at least put this film a little bit over. And it also shows me that the Black community just did not show up for this film. And that's basically the review. The film fell flat. It didn't deliver. The musical portion of it did not deliver. I don't know if it was a timing issue. It definitely wasn't a marketing issue, because we saw this all over the place. Not sure if it was the abuse issue, the lesbian scenes, not sure what it was. It just did not make the money. Now, if you compare this version, this 2023 version with the 1985, as far as box office, there wasn't a ton of money that was made in 1985, but it did make their money, and it made more, and it became a classic. It's a classic adult film. This one, I highly suspect that this will not be the classic. That doesn't mean that there's not room enough for them to make a film maybe in the future. Who knows? We'll see. It just didn't work for this time. And as for this reviewer, it also did not work. Now is the time in the episode where we have 7 Degrees of Depeche Mode. And 7 Degrees of Depeche Mode is when we connect who we're reviewing with our beloved Depeche Mode in 7 steps. So here we go. So A Color Purple, as you know, was starring Fantasia Barrino. She was in the musical 2023 version of A Color Purple, as well as the stage play in 2009. But we all know that Fantasia got her start on American Idol. Another person also got their start on American Idol was Kelly Clarkson. Now, Fantasia and Kelly have done other singing projects together. They've done a Christmas show together. They've sung together and other things. Kelly Clarkson was also a guest judge on another show called The Voice. And as devotees know, Depeche Mode was a guest on The Voice, the French version of The Voice. So there you go. There you have it. There's our 7 Degrees of Depeche Mode, where you have Fantasia, who got started on American Idol. Also Kelly Clarkson, who got started on American Idol. Kelly Clarkson and Fantasia has done different things together. Kelly Clarkson was a judge on The Voice, and Depeche Mode guest starred on The Voice, the French version of The Voice. Also, Kelly Clarkson has done a version of Enjoy the Silence too. She's done Enjoy the Silence. So that's our connectivity with Depeche Mode and A Color Purple. And so there you have it. There's our 7 Degrees of Depeche Mode. I'm back, and I told you guys that I had a little bit something extra for my viewers, and I want to go ahead and get into this. I thought it was something that you guys may enjoy and may appreciate. Now, Color Purple has had some controversy attached to it, and I wanted to do it a little bit separate and talk and speak about that controversy just a little bit. The controversy is basically that Taraji P. Henson had said that there was some strong pay disparages, that she was not given the pay or even the offer that was warranted of an actress of her skills and her talent and her experiences. And so she almost did not want to do this film. Now, a lot of people have heard about this controversy, and they're basically blaming this statement that Taraji P. Henson said on the failure of this film. And so I wanted to just kind of speak to that and just kind of let the viewers know my opinion about that. And so I want to read some notes, because YouTubers use this opportunity, Taraji P. Henson's statement, and use this opportunity to pounce all over Oprah and to basically blame Oprah for the financial failure of this film. And I want to make sure that I say financial failure, because the film was not a failure. The film was made, it did what it set out to do, and it accomplished that. And for us in filmmaking, that is success. If you go ahead and you have a target and you have this project that you need to have completed, and the project is completed, then that's a success. What the failure that people are talking about is the financial failure, as far as the money that the film did not make back. It did not make its budget back, okay? Budget was $100 million. It has only garnered 60 million of those dollars. So therefore, it did not make the budget back. So a lot of people use this as an excuse to lambast Oprah. Now, Oprah may have some things that she is not popular for, and maybe haven't made the best decisions when it comes to her own personal brand. But I just want to let you guys know that Taraji's statement, you really can't look at Oprah for that. You just have to know that there are whole different reasons why this film failed financially, or even why she made that statement. And I'm going to address both of those things to you right now as I look at my notes here. So remember, you guys, we Black women, we did not show up for this film. The Black community itself, we knew that Black men were not going to show up because of the issues with domestic violence and abuse, that they were not probably going to show up for this film. But Black women who are, you know, we have the ability, the financial ability to completely support something like this. We just did not show up for this film. And this was going on way before the statement, Taraji P. Henson's statement, actually came out. So let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about Oprah. Okay. We all want to think the worst of Oprah, right? But what we need to realize is that there were other producers on this film. This film had 3 other producers, 3 other male producers. There was Steven Spielberg, there was Quincy Jones, and there was Scott Sanders. So if Oprah is going, as a producer, is going to take the fall for the financial failure of this film, it's only fair and only right that Spielberg, Jones, and Sanders take that same responsibility, because they were also producers on this film. Okay. Another thing that we need to talk about is that, again, I said before that there were 21 executive producers on this film. You guys, executive producers, you know, that just means, that could mean a number of different things why somebody is an executive producer or gets named an executive producer. But there were so many hands within this pot that just blaming one person for whether someone didn't get paid right, or whatever the issue was on set, it should fall on all the producers, all 4 of the producers. Now, I'm hoping that Oprah will take this experience and just go, you know, it's an L. You know, it's an L, and, you know, keep going and keep doing what she does, because we can't forget that she does employ a lot of Black actors and actresses. So let's not forget about that, what she always done. I just hope that from this film experience, that she's learned to put in strategies strategies in place, that her brand is protected, her personal brand, and that she's protected. Okay. So, if she hasn't, Oprah, you can talk to me, because I can tell you that you would not have had to step foot on that set unless you wanted to, especially if something wasn't being done. If the right people were there, representing your brand and representing your studios. Okay. So that's a lesson. So that's one thing that I want to talk about as far as Oprah is concerned. So people should get off of Oprah's back on this one. Now let's talk about Taraji, her statement. I also think that it's really weird that when she made the statement, the person that was interviewing her was Gail, who we all know to be besties with Oprah and Oprah's best friend. And you guys, if you go back to that interview and you re-listen to that, when Taraji makes a statement of, you know, her famous statement that, you know, she begins to tear up and she says that she didn't, you know, want to keep doing this. And she says the math is not mathy. After she makes her statement, Gail gives a long pause. Now, Gail isn't an experienced journalist. She's an experienced interviewer. And when you're giving a long pause, you're giving what that person has said time to soak into the listener and time to soak into the viewer. If Gail at any point in time thought that what Taraji was saying was going to disparage her bestie, her best friend, Oprah, in any manner, she would have jumped in and she would have said something to kind of cover up, or even could have changed the subject completely. And she could have said, Taraji, let's talk about Baby Boy. Let's talk about Benjamin Buttons. Let's talk about all this other kind of stuff. She kind of did that a little bit, but she just gave too long of a pause. And so she would have really jumped in and would have taken a little bit more of control over that situation. I think that it was done for a different reason. Why that statement was made. It was not why the statement was made, because I think Taraji was just telling her heart, but why it was left to linger in people's mind. I just think it backfired on what Oprah and Gail were trying to do. I think it backfired on them. It didn't get the results that they were trying to get out. And so there you have it. But as far as what Taraji is saying, as far as pay disparages and she not being paid what you want, you know, we have an option. We have an option, a wonderful option. And that option is to say no. We can say no. And I'm pretty sure that many people probably said no to this project. You know, I don't know the ins and outs and all the negotiation, but let's say, you know, you have a number. Let's say that number conservatively is $500,000. That's your base. Like, you're not even looking to do a film, especially an Oscar nominated person is not even looking to do a film if it's less than $500,000 because of your team, everybody else that has to come with you to make sure that you're going to be doing the best on this project. Your agent and everybody around you, management agent, they're there to negotiate that for you. They're there to have your back. That kind of symbolizes to me that maybe the people that Taraji has behind her in the movie industry, in the film industry, really doesn't have her back the way that they should have her back, because there's no way. If they know that she has a number and she's not going to go below that number, then they're not going to insult her by offering her a film, especially a film that it has a lot of eyes on it, for less than what she's worth. But she said yes. She had the option of saying no, and it turned out that she said yes. Now, if she was forced to do this, if there's something else that was going on, then that's another subject. That's another review for another time. But she does have she's a free will person, we can assume at this time, and that she had the ability to say no. So saying that you're not getting paid. I also want to say that no corporation and no studio is going to pay what they're worth. Is there a disparity between some actors? Absolutely. Is there a disparity, you know, between anybody in a specific corporation or in a job? I want to say yes. The studios or corporations don't want to pay you. Whether you're white or whether you're black or whether you're Asian, they really don't want to pay you, okay? They want to try to keep as much money or get as much free or less effort or actors or participants as much as possible. So in my experience, they just don't want to pay. I don't think it specifically has something to do with color. I just think that they just don't want to pay. And so if that's the case, if we find ourselves in a company, a corporation, an industry that is consistent with not offering our base or what we're worth or what we said out of our mouths, and it's understood that we don't work for less than this, then we have the opportunity to change the game or to get out and just do something completely different. Doesn't mean that we're not going to make money somewhere else. There are tons of ways to make money in this world. And we also have to remember who's our provider anyway. That is not to downplay at all what anybody is worth or how much anybody should get paid. But we have to be, if we're seeing something consistently and we're seeing that people are being rude and they're not offering you what you've already said is your base, then you do not speak to them anymore. Doesn't mean you have to lower what you're worth, but you know you're not going to be working with that person or entertaining them because they just consistently want to insult you with the pay that they want to pay you. So that's a little something there about Taraji's statement about the money disparagement. Another thing is that when I talked to one of my daughters, her first question, now she's an attorney, her first question was, is Taraji in debt? Never thought about that. Never thought about that. A lot of us can get into debt. A lot of us now in debt over films, over different things that we have to kind of keep up. And also other businesses, because I know Taraji has a makeup line, a hair care line. She has her hands into a number of other things. And so from all those different things, plus you're also working, you're running companies and you're also working, may cause you to be in a little bit of a financial bind. I am not saying that I've heard this at all. I don't know. That was just a question that was posed to me, is that was that reaction, did she give that reaction because she's in debt? And that's just because that's what my daughter's used to, dealing with people who have other financial problems, and that's normally their reaction. So that's something else to consider. I want to make it plain that I believe that Taraji is worth every single penny that she desires, or everything. She was just that good in this film. She was amazing in this film. There was one line that wasn't delivered. I'm not sure if that was an editing thing where she was supposed to look at ceiling and go, "You show is ugly." She didn't do that. She made a face and it was perfect. It was believable. Lets you know that Taraji is top tier in her acting abilities. So I want to make that clear. Now, let's talk about when you're filming. Okay. When I'm on set, I get paid little to nothing, right? To do what it is that I do. But one of the things that is very important to me is making sure that the cast and the crew is taken care of, especially when I'm producing. And I want to make sure that they have everything that they need for this project to make this project successful, especially if I know that the budget is very low. So it's important that the energy between cast and crew and everybody on set is one of harmony, and that people are essentially having a good time. It sounds to me that people on this set may not have had a great time, because even when you're getting paid low or nothing, if you have a great set, you work around amazing people, it doesn't seem like work. It seems like, oh, I had a great time, right? Even though you still got gas due, you still got to pay your rent, you still got to eat, you know, you're looking at craft services and they're serving pizza again for the umpteenth time, and there's nowhere you're eating pizza, right? Or limp salad. When you look back on that project and you look at the set, you're like, you know what? That was still I had a good time. I didn't get paid what I should have, but I had a good time. And I have had many experiences like that. Truth be told, when a set is the morale may be low, or maybe you have actors and actresses or even crew members that are not having the best of time, normally the person that's in charge of making sure that people are cohesive and there's harmony and you're having a good experience is the director. It really is. It really is a director. I have worked with directors that are fun, that are great. I've worked with directors who are long-winded, who, you know, want to work at all hours of the night and everywhere, you know, but the director has a high energy and it makes you want to work with them, and they bring an essence to the film. So if the director here did not do that, there are other people who are supposed to come along to make sure that that set has that type of lively and enjoyable energy, even when you're waiting, when there are long waits, or, you know, the call sheet is long, or whatever the case may be. That could have also been a problem on this film. My strong suspicion is that's exactly what happened on this film, that people on this set just does not have a good time. Because when you're having a good time, you can feel that on the runway when they're marketing, you can, because they're revisiting, they haven't seen each other in a while, but they had such a good time with one another that they can't wait to come together and see each other, and they're just having a blast. So it sounds a little bit like that to me, that occurred in this film. And so again, like I said, that the director is really in charge of that. So going back to who really directed this film. So we covered a little bit of the controversy, and I wanted to speak about that for my viewers and say, in every film, there probably is more controversy and not. You're probably not going to hear about it. You have social media, you have YouTube, so a lot of people really pounced. They pounced on this, and they used this as fodder for their own channels and their own talking points with Instagram or whatever. Again, we're using it to hate on any one specific person. Films just do not work that way, because they're, especially big budget films, there's so many different things that come into play with that. Now, again, this is on limited information. I'm pretty sure in times to come or in years to come, there's going to be more information that's going to come out. Hopefully we don't care. Hopefully we've let it pass. We've forgiven. We've moved on. We've done better. And so this little hiccup in film history, this little hiccup in film history, that we can just kind of understand it and let it go. But sure enough, somebody is going to talk again. So I just want to thank everybody that actually was available to work on this film and who actually did this film, and because it gave me something to talk about. So there you go. There you have it. That's my full review, you guys. You stay with me to the end, to the long. It deserved it. This film deserved this length of review. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like, subscribe, share. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm on YouTube. I'm on other social media, LinkedIn, X. So follow Melanin Monarchy and definitely subscribe to this channel. That lets me know that what I'm bringing to you is of use. You are enjoying it and you're reaping something from it. And that's what we're here to do. So stay tuned to the next review that we have. Until then, toodle pip.